Hi there, I'm Eli,
I'm Spencer.
and we're Wilco Iris alums, providing you with Mentor Mondays.
We're going to be interviewing and talking to different queer business owners and entrepreneurs in our area to hear their experiences and stories.
Yes, so welcome. So hi there, would you like to start by introducing yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to be here. My name is Aja Price, and I am the founder of Wine and Curious, and soon to be Corks and Cravings.
That's wonderful.
Super excited. And do you want me to share like what I do?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am studying to become a sommelier, which is a wine expert. And so I'm about 3/4 of the way through my wine studies, and my whole goal is just to make wine more accessible, make wine more inclusive, and make wine fun, right, and approachable. So that's just kind of my whole motto and kind of what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, and do you find like working with wine and all of that like more of a community thing?
Yes, so wine is community. When I think about just how it starts, where it's grown, all of the beautiful just humans who take it from, the seed to the grape to the harvest to, the production. Yes, it is very much community. And one of the fun things that, you get out of wine is that everyone has a different palate. So what I'm tasting may not necessarily be the same thing that you're tasting. And that's what makes wine fun, right? Like we get to have this conversation, this back and forth of, what are you picking up on? What am I picking up on? So it is very much a community-based industry. Yeah.
How would you suggest someone in your career get started? So like schooling, education, how did you figure that all out?
Oh goodness.
Because it's not a typical route.
It's not. So I'll kind of backtrack and just start with, I've been in the hospitality industry for well over 15 years. So what that journey has looked like, I started in the lodging industry. So I worked for a bunch of hotels. I did copywriting for hospitality brands, so that looked like boutique hotels, floor designers, event planners. So I am very well versed in the hospitality industry just as a whole, but within the hospitality industry is the beverage sector. And so honestly, I drink a lot of wine, and so I was just like, you know what, I might as well study it.
Right.
And so that's just kind of where my curiosity led me, just studying wine, and it led to just communicating with friends about it. Let's have some wine parties and just kind of discuss what we are each, picking up on. And then I got a little bit more curious and started participating in classes. And so right now it's built up into a full-fledged on curriculum, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And did you attend college? How did you navigate college? Since I know this wasn't like the first route you chose.
Yes, so that's a really great question. So I am originally from Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, and I went to a small liberal arts college called Transylvania University. There I studied business administration and hospitality management. So like I said, hospitality has always been in my blood. And then from there, that's kind of what my journey looked like as far as schooling, picking up a lot of certifications as far as project management. So another passion of mine is planning events or telling stories through events. And so that's just kind of where that journey led me into the hospitality route, but then further on into the beverage industry sector.
And do you find a connection between your identity and your career? I know you interact with a lot of different people, and so how has that like helped you better understand like your own identity and all of that?
That is such a great question. I like to say, so about 5 years ago, I was a full-time entrepreneur. And so what that business looked like I said, I did a lot of copywriting for hospitality brands. And when you do copywriting or, words to help businesses sell things, a lot of the time it feels like your voice is lost, right? Just because you're picking up so many identities and brands of others.
Right.
And so, I came to like a halting point, and I said, I just don't think this is for me, right? Like, I know who I am. I want to share my voice, right? And then also to just questioning, like, what does my voice look like? Who am I? And so, oh my gosh, like telling him about this. So wine actually helped me rediscover my voice.
Yeah.
And so when I think about just kind of like how a grape grows, like I said, and then you take it to the production and then it comes, to the market in a bottle, there's so many steps in between. And even before we get there, just the growing process, right? And so just learning about that, and even being a plant mama myself, so I love plants. And so it's been really interesting to see like how vines respond, right?
Yeah.
Like what does it look like when, and this is totally transferable into like, the career paths, real world application, and just, some of the positions I've held. When you take a seed, when you take a grape, right, and you nurture it, whether that be through irrigation, watering it, sun, warmth, and just checking on it, pruning it, all the things. That's kind of what I did for myself, right?
Yeah.
I checked in on myself, like I took care of myself, like I made sure that I had things, I was nourishing my body, nourishing my mental health. And so, like I said, wine really helped me rediscover that. And what I've been able to discover is that I am who I am. I am a gay Black woman who absolutely loves wine and has so much joy about just sharing the beauty and the process of not only viticulture, but vinification, which is the process of making wine. So and I want to help others really rediscover their voices through whatever they love as well.
That's beautiful, and I bet you can relate a lot of that like back to your life and back to your own identity. Does like being in the wine industry and knowing all about that career, does it help you like take care of yourself better?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, like I said, just like even with the growth of wine and just like really being mindful. I think that's if there's one word that comes to mind of what I've been able to learn and being in this industry is just being mindful. And there's many layers there, right? Like I said when I started this conversation, what you pick up on as far as when you taste, when you smell, what you see, it may not be the same thing that I pick up on.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're right, doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that we are approaching something and we see something different, we may taste something different, and that's the beauty of it, right? Being able to appreciate the differences and unique approaches that we all see and take together.
For sure, and I bet wine helps you better understand like the
Yes.
world around you as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
it sounds
So
like
it's
there's a
not
lot of
just-
similarities, for
Right.
sure.
So that's been really exciting, and I will say, if you asked me probably about 3 or 4 years ago about wine, I would just say, oh, it's just a glass of wine, right? But it's just so much more than that, and it really has sparked just this beautiful energy and just conversations with folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any difficult situations that you've experienced like in your education, in the workplace, that have been really difficult and you've had to navigate, like in relation to like your identity or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things about the wine industry, there are 255 certified sommeliers nationwide. Very small. The test is very hard, just getting in the industry. Even before I had even thought about getting into it, it just wasn't very approachable. It didn't seem very inclusive. And even in my studies, right, there's a lot of just a representation. There's a lot of white men. There's not a lot of BIPOC individuals who are represented in the wine industry. And so that is what I want to bring to the wine industry.
Yeah.
I want to bring, a queer Black woman who, loves wine, who also inspires and sparks conversation amongst other BIPOC individuals, queer humans, to just enjoy wine and let them know that, hey, like, this is inclusive, this is approachable, and we have just as much of right to be here and take up space just as everyone else. So
Yeah, I think it's really beautiful because the queer community, I feel like, has like the white queer community has more connection to wine, but like the queer Black community has not had much of that. So I think that's really wonderful.
yes, and just in my studies, what I've seen is there is just an emergence of Black women just loving wine, and
Yes.
so that definitely makes me happy. And yeah, it's just been a beautiful space to be in.
How do you navigate networking as a queer person?
Ooh, that's a great question. So, being with the Tennessee Pride Chamber, so that is also a position I hold, and I'm the membership and events manager there. Just being in Tennessee, and before I took a position with the Tennessee Pride Chamber, I'll be right honest, I felt like it was really hard to connect with queer individuals. And so being part of the Tennessee Pride Chamber community has allowed me to meet other individuals and know that like, hey, there's others out there, right? Who are not only entrepreneurs, but small business owners, you know, even in the startup phase of business, everyone wanting to work towards a common goal of really just advancing themselves, spreading their message out to the world. So that's kind of how I've been able to navigate it. Like I said, the Tennessee Pride Chamber is an excellent resource, but also too, I am all the time on social media.
Yes.
Looking for other queer humans who are doing something similar to what I'm doing, but then also to small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, community is really wonderful in that way.
It is.
How do you deal with people in the workplace who have vastly different values or differences compared to you? Since it's a very white-dominated and male-dominated space, how do you not necessarily fit into that space, but how do you navigate that space?
It's a really good question.
Especially like not losing your voice, as we mentioned before.
Yes. I think I'm just kind of in a space, and I definitely think that this has just been, all the positions that I've had, all the experiences that I've had, has just been a stepping stone to this, right? Like, I know without a shadow of a doubt that wine is something that I am 100% passionate about. I'm also in a point in my life where I'm like, I deserve to take up space. I deserve to have my voice heard. And as far as navigating that space, I'll be honest, sometimes it is difficult. But what I will say is that I've been very fortunate to have allies who are and champions, right? Who are championing and creating space for my voice to be heard and amplified. But as far as navigating that space, that kind of what that looks like, just this knowing of like, you know, especially after that rediscovery phase of myself and my voice of, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to speak up, I'm going to say things. And I also too I also like to be mindful of like, I'm not the first to enter this space as a queer Black woman. I won't be the last. So it's important that that I use my voice and that it is heard, because I want other Black queer women to know that they can also be in the wine industry and, you know, have a great time, and then also learn and feel comfortable and safe within that.
Absolutely. Okay, what's a piece of advice you would give students, particularly like youth of color in the community? What is a piece of advice you would give to them, or a piece of advice like you would want to give to yourself when you were younger? Especially growing up in the South, because those experiences are very different.
So I will say this, when I first started the entrepreneurial journey, there were two pieces of insight that I received from my mentors. And it really truly has changed just the course of like my career and just my passions. But the first one was do what you say you're gonna do. And that was so incredibly important. And just from an entrepreneurial standpoint, when you're looking at getting clients, right? When you're looking at building that portfolio of folks and organizations, it's the small things that matter. So if you say, hey, I'm gonna send you a calendar invite for like today, send it, right? Because over time, what you're doing is you're building up that trust, you're building up rapport, which is so absolutely essential in getting clients and retaining clients. So that would be the first thing, right? Just building up that rapport, building up that trust, and then doing what you say you're going to do. And the next thing was, don't be afraid to ask for what you are worth. I think as a woman, and especially as a queer Black woman in Tennessee, so many times, and even when I first started my professional journey and my entrepreneurial journey, I undervalued my worth. I think being in an industry where it is very much service-based, and so meaning I didn't have a product or a good to offer, but it was essentially my knowledge and my expertise. So the question I had to ask myself is, A, is that valuable? Which absolutely yes. what is what I would tell myself, my younger self. Yes, your knowledge and your expertise is something that is valuable, but also to really sitting down and taking the time on figuring out what that value is, because it is valuable.
Yeah.
And so that would probably be my next piece of advice, or something that I would tell the younger version of myself. Don't be afraid to ask for what you're worth, because you deserve it.
Yeah.
So those two pieces of information and insight from the mentors that I've had have been truly invaluable. And that's something that I wish I'm actually not going to say I wish I would have known, because life's a journey. You learn things on the way. But that definitely would be something that I would tell the younger version of myself. And it has been really, truly transformational in knowing that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the goal of Mentor Mondays is basically to show queer youth that there is a life ahead of them.
Yes.
Is there any moments in your career that you know like would have made your younger self proud of you?
Oh, goodness. These are great questions. I'm sorry, and I'm trying not to cry. Any moments in my career that would have made my younger self proud of me?
So,
I think knowing just kind of where I came from and where I am today. I think just that alone, I'm just proud. I'm proud to still be able to exist as a queer Black woman in the state of Tennessee and have a voice to be here, right? So those are the moments that I truly value, and even you all taking the time and the space to create for me to be able to share this information. I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Those are the moments that I am really proud of. The moments also too where, you know, especially in my entrepreneurial journey, where I'm like, oh, I have these great opportunities, but like it feels uncomfortable, right? And not uncomfortable in a sense that it goes against my moral or internal or intuitive compass, but uncomfortable in the sense of like, these are great opportunities. I'm scared to do them because I just don't know how, right? Limiting beliefs. But pushing through those, right? Like knowing that I can do those. Those are the moments that I am proud of, and saying yes to those moments, right? Saying yes and really giving myself the opportunity to grow. Those are the moments that I am most proud of. So probably that.
Yeah, I have to give you a
I'm sorry.
quick. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. These are great questions, by the way.
All right. So this will be a little bit more positive here. Have you seen your field become more inclusive over time?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, like I said, there are 2 or 3 Black women who I follow on social media. One is also queer, and they have completely like just shaken up the wine industry. I think that, you know, the beautiful white men who don't even know what to do, who dominate that industry. So yes, there have been several incredible folks who have really transformed the industry and are really just like breaking down those barriers and making a path for us, for folks like me, like, right, to come into the wine industry, to succeed and have a space to be able to learn and just take up space, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, there have been several folks to do that.
Yeah, and with wine and customer service, I feel like you have to be very creative. Have you noticed queerness has had an ability, like a different ability to make you like more creative, or like has helped with like your problem solving?
I think being a queer human, I mean, maybe I'm biased, I don't know, but I'd like to say that we are more open and we are incredibly mindful humans.
Yeah.
And so just even given that, the approach, and this is something that I've seen and just in my tastings with some of my colleagues. For example, when someone asks, can you recommend a wine for me, right? A lot of the times I hear my colleagues say, well, I like this. This is what I would choose. Well, they don't care, right?
Right.
They may, but a lot of the times, just me being mindful and as a queer human, I want to ask more questions. Can you tell me and this is just my approach, right? Can you tell me what you typically gravitate towards? And if they're eating something, right?
Yeah.
Can I ask what you're eating? Here are some recommendations that would pair well with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that is the difference, and I'd like to say part of my queerness, right, for that approach. But I think just being more open and being mindful in asking the right questions to ensure, right, that the customer or the client is going to have a unique wine tasting experience for them, and not just, well, here's what I like, here's what I would recommend. Because like I said from the beginning, everyone's palate is different. Just because I like it, this human may not. And so I really want to ensure that this human is going to have the best possible experience.
Yeah. I will ask your favorite TV show and book in a moment,
Okay.
but I do have to ask, do you have a favorite wine and meal pairing?
This is the hardest question. I don't. I'll be right honest. I'm very much like kind of flow, and I will say this. So I'm very seasonal, right? So there are, just like fruit, there are wines that are best in a particular season. If you're, right now we're in summer, so I am drinking lots of rosés and dry whites. I love Gruner, so Gruner Veltliner, which is from Austria. So those are some things that I just like for the summer. They pair well with some of the seasonal vegetables and seasonal fruits that are in the summer. So that's just kind of my approach as far as drinking wine. But I will say this, I've never really met a bottle of wine that I haven't enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I definitely do enjoy different types of wine depending on what season it is.
Wonderful. And is there a recent book, TV show, movie that you've like really liked?
Yes. So book, The Alchemist. Have you read it? Wow. It is an incredible book.
I'll take a look.
It is just about a young human like rediscovering their voice, and it's magical, and it's all the things that I love about books. And I'll be right honest, I read it at least 2 times a year. So it's a very inspiring book. It's probably one of my most favorite books. And then as far as TV shows, I don't watch too much TV. But I do like the classics. So like I just watched The First Wives Club the other day.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite. I love Bette Midler, so probably a huge fan of things that she's in, and I just like her as a human.
Yes.
But yeah, those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, and what gives you hope and keeps you going in your career, especially like when it gets difficult at times?
Oh. It's for me, it's the small things, right? Like there are moments where I'm like, you know, you could be having a bad day and there's just these random like circumstances that'll happen when you'll have an encounter with a human who just gives you like a little, just small drop of kindness, right? And it could be from a stranger, and you're like, oh my goodness, like there are kind people in the world, like, and so it's moments like that that really keeps me going. But then also too, it's just my passion and my drive, right? Like I have so many goals, and especially just in regards to my wine goal, I think I started this journey about 3 or 4 years ago. And if you would have asked me that I would have been here 3/4 of the way done, I would have never believed it, because it was just kind of a hobby on the side. But knowing that, like, you know, the end is near, right? So I'm excited, and not only that, but just like the more I learn about wine, the more connected I feel with it.
Yeah.
And so that's what's helping me keep going. So
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for speaking with me today and sharing yourself with us. We appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.